All right. Good morning. We are back at the Eddie C. Lake compound, and I'm very excited this morning to have as our guest Davis Klein, who works for NYRA. Good morning, Davis.
Hey, good morning, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey Davis, how you doing, buddy?
Just running around Saratoga per usual, enjoying the weather.
Well, as Chris mentioned, very excited to have you on. I would say most people don't know what you're doing with NYRA and with some of the biometric technology things that you're doing. So, why don't we start out with you explaining a little bit about your affiliation with NYRA and what you're doing, which is, in my opinion, revolutionizing the horse racing industry and the soundness of horses.
Right, definitely. We began this project about a year ago in Saratoga, where a company named StrideSafe we partnered with to monitor the musculoskeletal movement of horses 2,400 times a second. And so we began by just doing one race a day, kind of just testing it out, how, logistical it could be, especially incorporating it with, like the operations of the day. And that went very well for us. And we started doing that full time when we had headed back to Belmont in the fall. And along with that, we are, testing out and researching other companies around the world, that are producing devices that could capture, very valuable information about how a horse moves and internal images of a horse.
So, can you elaborate a little bit about what that really means? Like, what goes into it? What I mean, I know you told me the other day you guys put sensors in the saddle cloths, and then are you getting information before the race, during the race, and after the race? Just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically, it's a device that's about the size of your phone, and I programmed them for each particular horse in each race. And so each of these horses has their own, we like to call them like fingerprints, but biometric profiles, because they each move in their specific way. And so going back, all these horses have their own profiles, and we'll stick those for about two races prepared in advance. And so, the horses will run as soon as they break out of the gate. The accelerometer will start catching all the information. And once they come back, we'll take them off. We'll download the data quickly, and then we'll reprogram some of the sensors for the new horses for the new race.
And then what do you do with that data? You say you download it. So, what's that process like?
That just goes on to a server, and it's all analyzed by our New York State Equine Medical Director, Dr. Scott Palmer, and he is kind of the mastermind behind that.
Okay, great. So, but I'm going to let Chris jump in here in a second, but let me just backtrack a little bit. Last year was the first time you and I met at Saratoga when you were there working with Donnie in the NYRA Betts office,
Oh yeah.
and you were the guy that was wearing the backpack in the paddock when nobody else could wear anything other than the clothes on their back.
Right.
But talk about how you got into horse racing. And then if you want to touch on if you and I are really friends or you just like me because I give you winners.
Oh, that's good. What's very funny about that too is so people at the track were like, "Who is that guy?" Other people I work with be like, "Oh, that's just Davis. He's just a backpack guy." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll just be the backpack guy. That's fine." But I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. So as soon as you grow up there, you know horses. And then my stepfather as well, who's a jocks agent for January, will be his 50th year being an agent. And just growing up with that life, being around the horses quite a bit, traveling for the horses at a young age, I kind of knew that's all I wanted to do. And I've been working up in Saratoga. This is my 7th summer working up here, and just slowly kept just trying new things, and here we are.
I think that's great, Davis. What did you do? What did you do the first summer you worked at Saratoga?
The first summer was our inaugural bet squad. So I taught people how to read the racing form and wager.
Okay.
And then
Shoot, maybe you can teach me how to do that.
Well, you're the one giving me winners, right, Eddie?
Oh, at times.
I gotcha.
What other things have you done?
We've been around the racetrack a bit, so worked in the racing office for a meet, which is very interesting. Really enjoyed that. And then how I met Eddie was working with NYRA Bets and key account management. So I was the assistant to our manager.
Excellent. Yeah, the first thing is, I'll tell you, Davis, I didn't know anything about this until Eddie started putting me onto it. And I was reading some of the articles in preparation here for speaking to you. I didn't realize that this project actually started at Belmont in the fall meet last year. Can you tell me about that? Like, how did it start? How did you decide you were going to do this? What did you have to do for training?
So the third-party company StrideSafe, they were actually the ones that began training me at the beginning, because it's all so new. It's a new frontier for not only us, but I think for the industry as a whole. And so there's been some trial and error, some things that not necessarily we thought we could do, but we can do. That's more on the veterinarian side of things. They're finding new ways to use this, and so I'd say it's been kind of figuring out as we go, and now we're to the point where I think we got it for the most part. And I think with anything, as the world moves, the more data we get, the more accurate it can be, the more helpful it is to have a larger population. And I think that goes with any other professional sport when they're gathering data, whether it's the NFL, Formula One, cricket, by all means.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to ask, the other question I just have is, obviously being a horse player, I didn't know that this piece of it, and I didn't want the conversation to be like, about breakdowns and less breakdowns. But I get thinking about this whole piece of it because people do not like to be policed. And what have you seen like as a positive, because you guys started out doing this at Belmont. I'm sure there's people asking like, hey, what are these things? How's it going to involve me? How's it going to flag me? But what have you seen, I guess, from doing this and being involved? What's the reaction been from the paddock and the trainers and maybe even some of the owners?
For the most part, it's all been positive feedback. I think people are receptive to it. And, as I mentioned before, as this is a new frontier, we got data security, privacy of all the information, and moving forward with that. But for the most part, I think the majority of people are excited that, something fresh has come to the industry that, has been around for a long time with other athletes around the world. And it's the first time, we've been able to monitor the actual equine athlete. I think that's very exciting for not only us, but for the industry as a whole.
So Davis, let me ask this question real quick. From all the data, and you're saying, obviously the privacy of the data, and you got to secure the site and where all the information is. Are you getting requests, or are you sharing this information with vets as well? Or, what's that process? Are you sharing it with the vets, with the trainers, and even the jockeys as well?
No, it is all extremely private and secure. And as I mentioned before, our New York State Equine Medical Director, Dr. Scott Palmer, he is the main man of where this information goes to and how it's released. So it is through the state, if you will, and we're just kind of, and I'm just being the operator for the most part and assisting, them with this project.
Yeah, I'd love to have Dr. Scott Palmer on and talk to him in the future. But I was reading up on him, and it's kind of interesting. Couple facts that I just pulled out myself is 85% of the horses that break down actually have some pre-existing conditions that hopefully this technology will help identify. And I know Dr. Palmer, he's in charge of horse safety, and I thought this was a really good way to put this. So StrideSafe is almost like a check engine light in your car. So if something's wrong with a horse or potentially wrong, you want to have it checked out. You want to look at it and see what's going on. Is that kind of what you see on your end, Davis?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a diagnostic tool by all means, but when even it could be something very small in your car, but the engine light will still come on. But then you go through, protocol of different things to check out to hopefully lead to something that caused that check engine light. And that's perfectly said by him, I'd say.
Yep, absolutely. Have you seen that? I mean, the reports after this, from what I've read, is it's kind of like a green, yellow, red report. Is that how that reports back?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like a flagging report, like a stoplight, basically.
Okay, I read about that, and it said, so basically a horse that's red, that's where something gets flagged, and then those are the ones that I guess the tests come back that this stuff is showing that it's working. I don't have the numbers in front of me about how many breakdowns there were this year versus last year, the year before, but I mean, we all know what happened 4 or 5 years ago at Santa Anita. I know Saratoga's had some of its challenges as well, but
right.
It just seems like there's a lot less of that now, which makes me really happy as a fan of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you look 10 years ago to where we are today, it's pretty extraordinary what we've been able to accomplish in terms of catastrophic breakdowns. And I think through this, we can get that number even lower, much lower.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe there's been a breakdown, and we're 3 weeks in, a little more than 3 weeks in at Saratoga, right?
I'm not sure, and I'm not gonna make up.
I'm saying on race days. I'm sure there's been something happen in training, and that leads to this question: you're doing it on race days. I know you're doing something with some of the horses that are training in the mornings, but you can only do so many of them. So why don't you talk on that, because that's a little bit different than what you're doing as well.
Right. So as I said at the beginning, where we're trying to explore, see what else is out there, because this is such a new thing for us. So we did find a company called Ariania that's based out of France, and we purchased some of their equimeters, which is it fits around the girth of a horse. It monitors their heart rate, locomotion, GPS, stride length, stride frequency. You can see how well these horses recover, kind of like a fitness optimizer, along with the potential to detect pathologies. So as of right now, from our point of view, we're not trying to implement anything by all means, but more so as like an educational standpoint, letting trainers know that, technology is available. It could be, a useful tool, a valuable tool for, these trainers along with their expertise. And so I think we've had, some good success with that so far. I mean, again, just very scratching the surface with everything, very beginning. But people have been receptive to it. I think people are valuing the information. Some trainers are, purchasing their own devices so they can start, capturing all their own data. And so I think that's also a very exciting aspect, not necessarily for, like the players, but, the trainers being able to monitor their horses even when they're not there, in essence.
So I guess a curious question that I would have is, aside from this being preparatory to your company and also you working with NYRA, have any other organizations within the horse racing industry, uh, be it the Jockey Club, be it HISA, has anybody approached you guys regarding the information that you're gathering and how there could be a collaborative working environment with all?
Well, I would sure hope so. I think that those conversations are a bit above my pay grade. But I absolutely think that, especially with his, there should be something in the future. If not, I'm sure they are talking about one way or another. I know, Stronach is doing something, and some other tracks are, they're all trying to figure out what might be best, or trying to figure out like a baseline standard for the industry of what, we might need, whether that comes to what kind of information we want.
And it's definitely for the betterment of the industry, doing what's best for the horses. And I think, like we alluded to earlier, we're definitely seeing a move in the right direction regarding the health of the horses and reducing fatalities and injuries even.
Right. And this is definitely my own opinion. But not only with that, but, just transparency of the industry as a whole, especially with the way public perception has been in recent times, along with, providing more information to the bettors, especially with TV and how TV is taking off, especially with the Fox show, how, different displays could be used. And again, in my own opinion, I think there's a multitude of things that could happen with, technology being used on our equine athletes and maybe even the jockeys in the future too.
Yeah, Davis. So one of the things I had a picture of, and I'm hoping this is the same thing. It's a Stride Master. I guess I don't know if you can see this on screen, but it looks like one of the units that was in one of those articles that you forwarded over, just so the audience could see exactly what we're talking about. It's probably on this picture. It's probably not as big as what you think it is. I mean, again, you said it's about the size of a cell phone. I'm just curious from a standpoint of, this is like Star Wars stuff for me. I told you that the other day. This is like high tech energy. I get excited about this, but what is it exactly measuring? Is it the horse's stride? Is it picking something up? Because I've read a lot about, listen, jockeys ride horses and they get a feel that something's not right, or maybe a trainer with their eyes sees something that's not right. The advantage of this whole thing with StrideMaster is it's picking these things up that the jockey's not picking up, and something maybe you don't see with your eyes, but just because I guess that stride is a little bit out of whack. Is that accurate in saying that?
Yes, definitely. And like one of the presentations I've listened to from Dr. Palmer, so the horse's movements in like three different phases: the loading, the springing, and then when they're in suspension. And so when they're in suspension in midair, mid-flight, if another analogy he used was like, let's just say you got a pebble in your shoe, right? And you can feel it. So the next step you take, you're probably going to alter your stride a tiny bit because you don't want that feeling of that pebble again. So while they're in midair, they're altering their spine and their pelvis a tiny bit if, there's a pebble or something. Not an actual pebble, but a relation to that. And so we're able to see those tiny little changes within a horse's stride. And that's what this device is able to pick up, from my understanding.
Awesome. You said that very well, because that makes a lot of sense to me. But it's amazing in a universe, I guess, with horse racing where so many things are old and people complain. This is the stuff that's really exciting, because nothing I hate more. I love horses. I love the animals first and foremost. Yes, I'm a horse player, and I think a lot of people think that horse players are just go to the track and they bet and they don't really care. They're there to get money. No, I'm going to tell you that 99% of the horse players that I know, they really do care about and I'm going to try to bring new fans to the track. Nothing I want to see worse than have a breakdown, because that's the worst thing you can have happen with somebody new to the track, and they see that. That's probably going to scare somebody away.
Absolutely. I remember when I was, maybe like 8, 9, 10 years old, I was out at Del Mar, first race, right in front of me. I was towards the top of the stretch. Horse broke down right in front of me, and I'll never forget that image.
This is such a great topic, and I think the process and whatever the end result is, it's going to definitely revolutionize a part of the industry, be it just the health of the horse, or I'm sure there's something that's going to be helping the performance of the horses by catching minor injuries, getting them healed up so they get to race more sound as they race. But is there anything out there that your company, NYRA, Dr. Palmer, are planning on doing any sort of seminar, educational workshop, so not just the horse player or the fan can understand a little bit more, so the industry can hear more about that?
Oh, absolutely. So Dr. Palmer, I think you can find it on NYRA's website, but if you just search him, he has webinars that have been posted online through Cornell Ruffian's through their research center. And I think a lot of people have been listening to it. I think a lot of people are excited about it. I'll definitely send you guys one of his webinars when we're done here, because
That'd be great.
The way he can describe it, it's absolutely fascinating. He's a very brilliant mind, and something that we need, definitely.
Awesome. Well, like Chris alluded to earlier, hopefully we can get Dr. Palmer on one day, and you know me well enough to know that I'm going to be bugging you about that for quite a long time.
Oh yeah.
Davis, that is a fact. But I'll close with this.
He's not busy at all.
Yeah, no. I know. Your day still starts early in the morning, right, Davis? You're not just going to the track, hanging out in the winner's circle every day, right?
Oh no. We start nice and early.
We were talking about that yesterday. We were at the track early on the backstretch, and we saw you, and I was like, "Oh my goodness! These guys got to get up every single day like this. Like, you know what? I don't know if I really want that part of the deal. Like, I kind of enjoy getting up at 7:00 in the morning myself, but that's how I roll. But no, listen, you present yourself very well. You present this information very well. This is the stuff that horse players and this whole community need to know more about it. And I'm very passionate about this. And people talk about places being stuck in the dark ages. NYRA is embracing technology change here. And that's what I want to make sure everybody knows, because I love NYRA. That's my product. This is what I bet. And I love the fact that they're doing it. And Dr. Palmer said it again. The goal is to get to close to 0% breakdowns. It's a tough game. It's a dangerous game. Stuff like that happens. But when it does happen, we want it to be a rarity. So that's my piece.
Absolutely.
But thank you, NYRA, and thank you, Davis, for coming on and sharing your thing. Davis, is there a website if people want to go on to and learn more? Where can they go?
So one tidbit about the actual technology behind it: if you go to Stride Master, underneath that there's a subsection of StrideSafe, and then through that, I think if you just Google Dr. Scott Palmer StrideSafe, one of the webinars will pop up.
I'll just thank him.
Along with some of those Blood Horse and TDN articles.
Okay, I'll look at it and I'll throw them in the comment section. Eddie, I'll let you wrap it up.
Hey, Davis, listen, man, I appreciate it, buddy. I know you were up early. You got a long day ahead. But anyhow, I appreciate your time. This is exciting stuff, man. And I'm glad we were hopefully able to pique the interest of other people that'll bring more attention to what you guys are doing and shine a bright light on an industry that needs a lot of good news. And this is definitely one way of doing that.
Hopefully. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. That was fun.